What's up guys, this is Astranox. I'm gonna be doing a Wyvern 11 run with this team. So this is my third account on the Europe server. I wasn't farming Wyvern before, so I mean I did it a bit, but now I'm gonna be farming it much more. So this is the team that I'm running, and what I want to showcase is Angelic Montmorancy. She has over 160% effect resistance, and what I want to show you is that with that amount of resist, she actually has 180 something, and with that amount of resist you can actually resist every attack, every dispel, and every combat readiness reduction of the boss. So she's the solo healer, she's the tank as well. And what happens when you have 160% effect resistance is the boss will not be able to remove buffs off of you, right? So you can actually use defense buff, you can use absorbs, you can use all sorts of stuff. And another thing is that I'm using Water's Origin 4-star Steel Weaver artifact on her, and it's not even triggering because she's not even taking enough damage. And that is without the defense buff as well. So what that means is you could have your Angelic Montmorancy with 160% effect resistance, and you could lower her tanking stats, you could lower her defense, and even her HP, her health. Where Water's Origin, you're going to be resisting all the combat readiness reduction. You will be getting 20% combat readiness every time Water's Origin triggers, and it will be so much easier to actually tank the boss that way. And you will also have your Angelic Montmorancy built for PvP because you need high effect resistance in there. So that's another major plus. So that is what I want to showcase in this video. I'm leveling Luluca, I'm leveling Karin as well, because I wanted to power them up, because I can use them in Wyvern 11, I can use them in other areas of the game. I had 4 extra copies of Karin. You know, so I have her memory imprint at S rank, so that's cool. It's 10.8% crit chance for the back and top spot, which is pretty cool. Seaside Bellona, she was built, she's limited, she's very powerful, she doesn't have skill ups. None of my heroes have skill ups, the damage dealers. Maybe Seaside has 1 skill up on skill number 3, that's it. Angelic Montmorancy though, she's a 055, that's her build. And you don't even have to use Water's Origin. You could be using Rod of Amaryllis or even Prophetic Candlestick. Like there's a few options. So here's the damage breakdown. I'm using Daydream Joker on Luluca and on Karin. I will show you the stats of my heroes after. Let's just do one more run. So yeah, you can aim for 160% effect resistance. Actually, you only need 155% to show up on your character sheet, because if you have her specialty change fully completed, the runes are powered up, she's like at plus 30, right? You are getting a 5% effect resistance for the whole team, and it includes herself as well. So 155% will bring her to 160, and I believe that is the number that you need to actually resist all the time. And like I said, Water's Origin would be very powerful, but you need it to trigger. That means you need to have her at a lower amount of defense and a lower amount of HP than what I have her at. But even Rod of Amaryllis would work out. Her healing output would be much higher, and you could have a lower amount of speed, you could have a lower amount of survival stats as well. If you are able to bring, like if you have Luluca and she's part of your Wyvern 11 team, I mean, you've got a defense buff that if you have skill ups onto her, if you have skill ups, and if she's quite fast, you'll be able to have a pretty high uptime on her. But it's actually hard, because if you are resisting with Angelic Montmorancy, that means she's actually cycling through her skills quite fast, and that means it's going to be hard to keep that defense buff going on her for a long time. But I mean, if it is up like like half the time, it gives you that extra cushion that you can work with. This team has 3 sources of defense down. That's why I'm using these heroes. Defense down is much more powerful than attack buff in here. I mean, any boss that has high amount of health, high amount of HP, means that you're using Daydream Joker, which means that with defense down, you are roughly doubling your damage output against, you know, this target. Even it does work with Daydream Joker as well, which is extremely powerful. Now, I mean, the boss just got like bursted down so quick, and I even want to do one last run here. You know, I'm just leveling these 2 new heroes, 2 of my new 6-star heroes. I've been working hard to farm Fodders, yeah, I know that I will be using these heroes in other areas. That's why I leveled them. I made them 6 stars. I mean, if you had to just choose, like if you wanted to make a 3-man team, I would say that, you know, Karin is, she's very strong. She's easy to get. We got her for free. You know, there was a side quest where we were able to get her for free. So there's that. If you don't have her, well, it's going to be much easier to obtain her versus, you know, Seaside Bellona. If you didn't get her before, she's a limited hero. So you could just go Luluca and Karin and Angelic Montmorancy, but there's so many different team compositions that you can run for Wyvern 11. I'm not gonna go over all that, but you know, you could have your Angelica tanking the front line, but what I wanted to spotlight was Angelic Montmorancy because she's way more, she's much easier to obtain than Angelica, and she's actually used much more in PvP than Angelica because, I mean, just with her specialty change, with the skill tree, she's actually getting 60% effect resistance. I believe it's 55% from the passive plus that team-wide 5%. So that's 60% effect resistance, and that's quite a huge amount. And her healing output is just a bit lower than Angelica, actually. Just because she can actually cycle through her turns so fast. With Rod of Amaryllis, she definitely heals for a huge amount, like over a course of a battle. But I mean, you could be using Magahara's Tome, and she's going to be cycling through her skills so much faster as well. And you could use that. You could use Magahara's Tome in here, because, I mean, it will just work. But you see resistance is just showing up all the time. One of them is, wow, that was super close. But another run that the boss dies even before barrier. But if Water's Origin was triggering, man, it would be so much easier. It would be very, very easy. So let me show you her stats. So yeah, plus 5, she's maxed out on these 2. I mean, you don't have to Molagora her. We'll have skill enhancements for 3-star heroes, only costing Stigma instead of Molagora's very soon. So there's that. Now, her speed is actually, you know, she's not even on a speed set. Actually, she's on a speed set. She wasn't on a speed set long before, like that was a recent change for me. But you do have a speed set from the Season 3 Conquest point shop. So maybe you can use some pieces there. But she has, yeah, more effect resistance than is required to actually resist all attacks from the boss. And of course, the only thing that I'm using for from Water's Origin is actually the passive stats. So, you know, I could actually just do one more run. Just put Rod of Amaryllis on her. I will show the gear for the other heroes. You know, skill ups. You know, I just throw on a bunch of gear on Luluca and on Karin. Like an hour ago. Daydream Joker is like the biggest part of your damage during those runs. It's about landing defense down, it's about having, you know, 85% crit chance. She's not even like crit cap. She's getting the memory imprint from Karin of 10.8%, something like that. Plus you have a 15% bonus when you're fighting, when it's ice versus fire, when you are at elemental advantage. So she's getting like 20, almost 26% crit chance, and it's not capping her at 100%. So there's room for improvement. She's not even max level, you know, and her stats are not so good actually. But I can 3-man this, you know. I have on account number 1, where, okay, Seaside. On account number 1, no skill ups, I'm using Angelica, Taranor Guard, and Alexa. But it could, like, you could be running Angelic Montmorancy, Taranor Guard, and Alexa. It would work. That 160% effect resistance is actually very powerful. Karin. Yeah, okay, it's 10.7% top and back position. You know, she has some decent survival stats. Yeah, her crit damage could definitely be higher. Her speed could be higher. You know, running her on a speed set with speed boots. I mean, she's running speed boots here, but that's not even maxed out. And the gear on Luluca is not even maxed out. I mean, she's running a bunch of +9 pieces on the left side. So yeah, if you go for a bunch of crit damage, if you go for more speed, you don't have to worry so much about attack, because it won't scale with Daydream Joker, but you will still get a lot of damage out of your attack. I mean, Karin could be a 4-star. Luluca could be a 5-star, and it would just work. You see, +9, +9, +9, and the rings +12. So yeah. Okay, let's just do that run with Rod of Amaryllis and see the difference in healing. Another thing is that the boss, if you apply 3 debuffs on the boss, it will do like greatly reduced damage. That means like this team is not good for that part. You know, they're all about having a high uptime with defense down debuff. But let's say if it was like a long battle, if you knew like you had to go through like a barrier phase and then do some more damage to the boss, if it was going to be quite long and you feel like your survival stats are not so like high, you could bring a hero with attack break, attack down debuff, and you would try to have your team apply 3 debuffs against the boss, and that would greatly reduce the damage of the boss, making it so much easier to tank all those attacks. And not only that, I mean, that's 3 debuffs plus if you apply attack down debuff. Those two combined makes the boss hit for nothing. So you could be using Angelic Montmorancy with much lower speed and lower survival stats. You see like how much damage she's taking. Like that defense buff is just sticking. You could have a hero that applies barrier, you know, to just sustain your Angelic Montmorancy. You could have you could have Ether. He could be healing her in the back line if you don't have the gear early on. But there's so many different team compositions. You could have a Knight, just Crozet in the front, Ether in the back, healing him. I mean, yeah, so it's just, I wanted to showcase that Angelic Montmorancy just resisting all the time. I mean, you could apply that 160% effect resistance to other heroes. It could be a Crow in the front line, and I mean, he applies defense buff, and that would increase his survival. When he uses his ultimate, he gets a barrier. I mean, that could be some sort of sustain for him to just survive the last hits. So you could reach the barrier phase and kill the boss during the barrier phase. You break it, you finish the boss off, something like that. I didn't actually pay attention to how much health she had before barrier, but I feel like it was nowhere close as low as it was before. But it's like I said, if Water's Origin is actually triggering, that would definitely be optimal. You just need to make sure that you're taking 20% of your HP and damage per attack. The problem with Water's Origin is that the boss could be landing a normal hit. The boss could be landing like a critical hit. Okay, I guess I'll do a final run. Looks like she's been healing for like 30,000 before. It really depends on the length of the run. That doesn't mean anything actually. Luluca is actually doing more damage. Like, the more time she uses her ultimate, her skill 3, the more attack she has. And that's not an attack, but it's like a passive attack buff for herself. It's not a buff that can be dispelled, it's just a passive that happens. So you can still have attack buff and get this whole thing multiplied by 1.5 because you get a 50% increase with attack buff. But it's like I said, like defense down debuff is a much more important thing to have than attack buff, because attack buff will not work with Daydream Joker. I don't even have Daydream Joker on Seaside Bellona. I mean, that's another way to increase your damage output. You could have Bloodstone on Seaside Bellona to actually help your frontliner survive. I mean, you could have a Knight in the front line, super tanky, and Seaside with Bloodstone if you feel like you just need that extra bit of HP. And that could be it. That could be your small amount of sustain for you to just survive through the attacks, to reach that barrier phase, kill the Wyvern, or even just kill it before barrier happens. But Rod of Amaryllis, like, look at this. Like, it's ridiculous. It's so strong. It's at plus 15. Nothing crazy. But that Water's Origin, like, I was just using the stats. You could have a Prophetic Candlestick, and she would be using her skill 3 more often, meaning that she's going to be able to sustain herself so much easier than if she had to rely on skill 2, because skill 2 without Rod of Amaryllis doesn't heal for so much. You know, it's probably like not even 2,000 heal. With Rod, it's bring it to 4,000 something. You know, a non-crit from Luluca because she doesn't have, she's not capped on crit chance. Yeah, very easy to heal through. If I could just take some gear off of her to test out like how much survival you would actually need to tank this forever, you know, without even Rod of Amaryllis. Like, it could just be with Prophetic Candlestick, or it could just be with even make Water's Origin work. But I feel like testing it with a Prophetic Candlestick would be a better thing to do, a better showcase, because, you know, maybe you don't have a Water's Origin. You could buy it from the Powder of Knowledge shop, but it doesn't mean the rotation will happen anytime soon. That's why Prophetic Candlestick would just be a much easier. It's just much easier to obtain. So yeah, I'm just doing these runs and I'm leveling Karin and Luluca at the same time. Very good efficiency. Getting some crafting materials. I definitely don't have much. Yeah, she was healing that, no problem at all. No problem at all. I kind of want to test it out. I kind of want to test out that Prophetic Candlestick now. Might as well have just one run in the video, right? Do I have... Let me unequip. Okay, looks like the best one is on her. I mean, her cooldowns are so short. So short. 3 turn for skill 3 and 2 turns for skill 2. Magahara's Tome is very, very powerful on her. Especially a maxed one, of course. I mean, she's getting like... It's so close to 100% combat readiness when she uses skill 3. It's quite ridiculous. Because she's also getting some combat readiness from her skill tree. It's a chance, I believe. She's getting like 50% combat readiness on skill 3. And you add Magahara's Tome on top of that, which is like 30% when it's maxed out, I believe. I could check it out to be sure, but... Yeah, she's like at 80%. I know skill 2 has a chance to get combat readiness increase. I'll check it out after this run. Let's check how Prophetic Candlestick is doing here. Well, it triggered already. Oh, this thing's on cooldown. I mean, didn't have to use the full strength of it. Karin, I mean, when she's getting that extra turn with skill 2, that's very good. I mean, she's applying defense down. And also, my heroes, they don't even have 55% effectiveness. That's what you need to counter 70% effect resistance. They don't even have that. So, my stats are not optimal. Like, I mean, they're okay, but they're definitely not optimal. If I tweak this whole thing, I can 3-man it. I could 3-man this no problem with the Rod of Amaryllis on Angelic Montmorancy, or if I make Water's Origin work. You see that heal was so small. It was 1,800. Rod of Amaryllis on skill 2 was like 4,400. That's more than double. So that's huge. Prophetic triggered, and there's skill 3 there. Boss going in barrier anyways. I would say that Rod of Amaryllis is just safer, because you know it's just gonna happen. You're gonna get that boost. If you are using Water's Origin, it's like I said, you could trigger when the boss lands a critical hit, and maybe your survival is good enough that on a normal hit, you know, it doesn't trigger. So you would have to lower your survival even, like, you'd have to lower it even more. And let's say on normal hits, you're taking like 20-21% of your HP in damage. So it triggers, you're getting healed for 8% of your HP back. So that's some pretty good like sustain from this whole thing. It's almost called mitigation, right? 20% damage taken, 8% back in healing, plus you're getting 20% combat readiness. The boss is lowering your combat readiness by 10%, but it's not happening because 3 attacks, normally you're losing 30% of your combat readiness from those 3 attacks, but if you have 160% effect resistance, it's all resists. You see that hit, man? That Luluca hits so hard when she builds up that skill number 3. Not sure if it was actually 3 times that she stacked it, but man, I can see some crazy numbers after skill ups, level 60, some better gear. She's gonna hit so hard, so hard. That, yeah, you see 43,000 on that run. How much damage they dealt? Yeah, Prophetic Candlestick will work, but if you want like 100% success rate or something like that, I would say Rod is very good. The thing is with Water's Origin, it's better. The reason why is that you don't need that much speed. You could have much lower speed and make it work, because I mean you're getting 20% combat readiness every time you're getting hit if it triggers. You're getting hit 3 times, you're getting 60% combat readiness. That's ridiculous. And you're not losing combat readiness because you're at 160% effect resistance or more, which is so powerful. Plus that 8% that healed back. So that's very good. And I mean, you guys can try it out. Let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comment section. And there are so many different team compositions. I'm not gonna go over them, guys, but yeah, I just wanted to showcase this in this video. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I'm Astranox. Like, comment, subscribe for more. Press the bell icon for like to be notified whenever I release a new video. And check out my other videos that should be showing up on the screen now. Playlists of all sorts, Arena, Guild Wars, Guys, Tips, and How-Tos, and Abyss 462 Plus. So check those out if you haven't. And also join my Discord server. The link is in the description. We have over 400 members so far. So good luck with all you do in the game. Peace out for now.